Hey, yo, check this out. It's DJ Khaled. There's shows, and there's the Jalen and Jacoby show. Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself.
Is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
Of course, we will discuss whether or not the NBA players should join the bubble amidst everything that's happening in this nation. But we start with some breaking news about NFL superstar Ezekiel Elliott. His agent confirmed to the NFL Network that was then confirmed by ESPN that he did test positive for the COVID-19 coronavirus. Jalen, how do you think that will impact the season as we head into training camp?
No reason to panic at all. Each sport has to deal with this independently. And for Major League Baseball and the NFL, neither one of their situations has started yet for different reasons. MLB is based on labor, NFL just based on time. And if they had to push training camps and mini camps back, if they had to push the start of the season back, they have plenty of time to do that. He's not going to be the only person clearly in the NFL of 1,300 people, including coaches and staff, to catch coronavirus. So those dates right there are arbitrary. They're on the calendar, but they're arbitrary. To be continued.
I mean, for the last few months, there's been a lot of discussion of what the new normal is. And I think that we all just have to come to the realization that in sports, the new normal is that from time to time, the players that we love to watch are not going to be able to play because they will test positive. And we wish Ezekiel Elliott the best health and recovery. But the NBA is having a little trouble getting restarted for different reasons. It is time for the NBA bubble trouble. So much going on in the world. Global pandemic with COVID-19. Global uprising in a fight for justice. People on the street peacefully protesting. Some people not being peaceful. Clashes between protesters and police. We all see it every day. And when such big things are happening in the world, sometimes it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you just go micro and you think about your immediate family and keeping them happy and protecting them. And whatever you want to protect, nobody has more ways to help keep you safe than ADT. ADT can help you customize a security package that fits almost every lifestyle. You can have anything you want that works for your budget. Whether you want just the basics or all the bells and whistles, ADT can work with you to customize the system to help protect your home. And they offer all the essentials and convenience. HD video doorbells, indoor and outdoor cameras, smart lights, smart locks, smart thermostats, flood sensors, and fire and carbon monoxide detectors, all connected to 24/7 monitoring. ADT is the leader in smart home security providing. They have the largest security network. 9 ADT owned and operated monitoring centers operate 24/7, 365. When it matters most, trust ADT. Now more than ever, you need the peace of mind with 24/7 rapid response monitoring from the leader in home security, ADT. Jalen, there were a lot of voices over the weekend from NBA players, both current and former, that are suggesting that the NBA players should consider not going into the bubble because that could distract or take away from the fight for equality and against social injustice. What do you think?
This is a conversation that has plagued Black American people who work in corporate America, sports and entertainment for a very long time. You see it play out in certain situations like Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the Olympics, of where we intersect what's happening in our lives in society versus do what we were initially brought here to do 500 years. That's be labor and entertain. And so now it's a crossroads when you see the tragic killing of George Floyd on the internet. The revolution is now being televised, almost 9 minutes. And so each sport, to me, Jacoby, has their own independence as it relates to their Black allegiance. And here's what I mean. In the NFL, Colin Kaepernick, one of their own, took a knee, and it was literally a symbol if you look at the pictures that happened when George Floyd was killed. So now you're going to see more players in the NFL who now have the courage, because they know they're not going to lose their jobs. They know that they may not lose sponsorships. And you won't see just 12 people this year taking a knee. You're going to see multiple people taking a knee. Where in the NBA, one of our brothers is in this fight, Steven Jackson, and affectionately known as Twin with George Floyd. And so the pain and the anguish that not only he and the Floyd family is dealing with, there's also a pain and the burden that we just carry as people. That really hurts. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin. What about the lynching that took place down south? Okay, I could go on and on and on. And so now it's what can we do to graduate the movement, not necessarily take away from it. And so I feel on both stages, you can still create your voice and your power. But this is a unique situation because you have to be quarantined. And for me, Jacoby, to be honest, when all of us have been quarantining these last 2 or 3 months, guess what? You're not mobile. And that's what the movement is. You see people marching, you see people protesting, you see activity. The one thing about it is once you enter that bubble, it does limit your activity for the movement, and it will, as they're saying, become a distraction because you know why? Instead of right now talking about that, we'd be probably talking about the score of the game or something that happened affiliated with it.
See, now, I think this is very complex, and I don't even know where I stand on this, but I do want to sort of echo what you just said. Let's say we are playing games, and we are just focused on the games themselves, and it will become a distraction for something much bigger than basketball, which is justice. However, the other side of that is, if there is so much focus on these games, and there's so much media attention on these games, could that not then be a very effective platform, post-game press conferences, other gestures of solidarity with the Black Lives movement, the Black Lives Matters movement, that would actually elevate the fight for equality instead of distract from it? Which way do you stand on that?
All situations in sports, again, aren't created equal. Like Bubba Wallace got a long way to go. He got a really long way to go in NASCAR, right? The MLB, 7-8% black, has a really long way to go. You haven't really seen that level of outspoken solidarity for the Black Lives movement from that sport. But in the sports that are predominantly black, you have to use your voice. And if you can mobilize, do so. And there is a running theory that using the NBA stage is the biggest platform for these players. I'm going to deny that this year because it's a unique circumstance in Orlando after a pandemic in a bubble. So therefore, if you're not mobile and you're hamstrung, the voices of like a LeBron James is really sitting still for 3 months. And we will be talking more about his points, rebounds, and assists than his more than a vote initiative that I'm a part of as well. So it can be complex, but here's the other thing. The players in those sports, Jacoby, are going to feel more pain because it's more people that look like George Floyd playing in those sports. There's an anguish, there's a depression that comes with constantly watching these scenarios play itself out. And if Steven Jackson was in the league, just like many of us when we have a death in the family, he probably would not be able to perform psychologically and emotionally because there's so many things happening in his personal life.
Do you suggest that players should not play the rest of the season in Orlando?
That's a tough call. If I had to answer yes or no, I just go back to what the Giants over my shoulders would do. What would Kareem, Tim Brown, Lou Alcindor, Muhammad Ali, what would they do? And you know the answer to that question, Jacoby? They wouldn't play.
Well, this question doesn't need to be answered right now. Michelle Roberts of the NBA PA is working on a way to sort of reinstate the league while also sort of continuing to fight for the Black Lives Matter movement. But one voice that sort of cut through everything and with some hard truth was that of Pat Beverly. Pat Beverly took to Twitter during all of this discussion, and he said, "Hoopers, say what y'all want. If LeBron James said he hooping, we all hooping, not personal, only business. What does that say to you?
Well, it says to me that when he sent that tweet, he looked down at his phone and had a lot of teammates like, seriously? Like, LeBron? Like, you know that we might face them in the Western Conference Finals, right? But what I appreciate is the movement is bigger than that. And I like how he added stay woke, because this is a time of social and political consciousness. And so if the players feel like they can play the game that they love, continue to take care of their families and entertain their fans and be healthy doing so in a quarantine situation, enjoy the game that you love. And so it will be interesting to see how the effects of players who are on different squads take to going to being quarantined, Jacoby. I'm trying to let everybody know, being an athlete is not an essential business. The people who are packing your groceries at the store would love to not be putting their health at risk, except they need to pay their bills to take care of their families. It's different when you're an NBA player and you're on a 7-seeded team and you already played 80% of the season, lost 25% of your money. You can't see your family for 6 or 7 weeks, and or you might contract it, and you might give it to somebody else, and or you may take it back to your family. These are serious health concerns that are happening with the coronavirus. So it's a duality that's taking place also with the social unrest.
There's the social unrest. There's the health concerns. There's so much at stake. We've only heard from a handful of voices, and I'm sure as the week goes on, we'll hear from many more, including King James, as Pat Beverly suggested. I've got a video of Lamar Jackson that's going to make you freak out. We'll play it for you right after this. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Jalen and Jacoby is presented by Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit. Part of Happy Hour.
Got to give the people time. Give the people what they want.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. We created a segment where Jalen gets to decide what we discuss. It is called Keep It Moving.
Woo!
If you want to discuss the topic, you say hit the brakes. If not, me and Method Man jump in the minivan and keep it moving. We start with Cam Newton getting a little work in with someone you wouldn't expect. Keep moving or hit the brakes. We will hit the brakes and show you Cam throwing to none other than OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. Why isn't Cam on an NFL team, Jalen?
He should be. And I'll say this. His hair looks great. I don't know if it'll fit in a helmet, but I'll tell you what. There's a guy that's a former MVP, had some injuries the last couple of years. You see where the league is trending with Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. I still think Cam has a lot left. I think he's going to catapult himself back into the top 10 of quarterbacks in the NFL. A lot of people sleeping on him right now.
Ooh, I like that. Moving on. Someone's trying to catapult themselves into the NFL quarterback discussion, and that is Tua. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Keep it moving, man.
We gotta keep moving. You're still hurt. Still hurt from that one. Well, the MVP of the league was getting some work in. It didn't look like Cam. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes.
I love beach football, and so does Lamar Jackson. Let's take a look at him and his homeboys on the beach. First of all, great pump fake here. Got him jumping out of his feet. And then he decides to tuck and run because he's Lamar Jackson. And then one of his buddies pushes him into a jet ski. Jalen, if you're Lamar Jackson's homeboy, how do you push the MVP of the league into a jet ski?
How about Lamar Jackson only has one speed? You know, you hear athletes like, I go hard all of the time. This is really going hard all of the time. On the beat. And out there a blur. Imagine that's your homeboy. NFL players can't catch him. And you're charged to try to catch him. And then the person that pushed him into the jet ski, that's his real friend. That's his 10 toes down guy. It's like, we playing beach football, and I know you're the MVP and all that, but I'm trying to get you down by all means.
Next, you'll never believe this. The MLB and the MLBPA still haven't come to an agreement. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
We keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
Alvin Kamara did something he has never done before, attended a NASCAR race. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
You're going to have a terrific year this year. Keep up the good fight, Bubba Watson. Keep it moving for now.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Bubba Wallace.
Ja Morant is trying to make some change. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
I love that he's socially conscious and athletes and entertainers continue to use their voice for change, especially if people that represented a Confederate. Keep it moving for now.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Bryce Harper has a backup plan in case he doesn't play Major League Baseball this season. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
I don't know if the Eagles going to give him a roster spot. He got $300 million. He's not messing up that bread. And he left the National League in the World Series. He living his best life. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
We will keep it moving. And we'll keep it moving right after this break where we have a reason why Jokic might no longer be a stretch mark 5. We'll show it to you in just 2 minutes when Jalen Jacoby returns.
We got to give the people time. Give the people what they want.
Jalen and Jacoby is presented by Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit. Part of Happy Hour.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, we have global unrest with the Black Lives Matter movement. We have superstars in the NFL testing positive for COVID-19. And now it is time for some news that matters. Jalen, you know I always call Nikola Jokic one of my favorite players, stretch mark 5. Well, I'm going to have to rescind that nickname because we have some images of Nikola Jokic. Look at my man. I always say that I look better with my shirt off than Jokic, but Jalen, I'm starting to reconsider. Look at him. What do you think about the new look
Put some
Jokic?
respect on the Joker, all NBA first team center last year. Gonna eventually be a guy that averages a triple-double in the NBA, revolutionizing how we watch the offense in Denver evolve as they run it through their big man. But I do love your term, stretch mark 5. But it don't apply to him anymore. He ready to ball.
He'll be back. He'll gain it back. Trust me. I do this all the time. He'll gain it back. We'll be back tomorrow at 4. Dan Levitard, highly questionable.
Thank
right
you,
now.
your far too kind.
We got to give the people time. Give the people what they want.
Jalen, we only have a 20-minute television show every single day at 4 to 4:20 on ESPN, but we need a lot more time to discuss what happened this weekend in regards to NBA players going into the bubble. And here on the podcast exclusive, we get a little more time to discuss it. And I don't know how to feel. I totally understand, as Dwight Howard said, there is nothing more important. Like, there's nothing more important right now. This is bigger than basketball. There's nothing more important than equality and justice and humanity for not just black people, but for all people of color. At the same time, there's another side of that coin, which is people always use the term use your platform, use your platform. Perhaps the most effective way that NBA players can be an agent for change is by using all of the focus that will be on them in Orlando while they play basketball to support the Black Lives Matter movement. So I understand both sides, and I don't really know where I stand, but how do you see it?
So I want to make sure I'm definitive on what I say because I see a lot of people waffle back and forth on this topic. And I want to make sure that I acknowledge that two things can be taking place here. This is a unique situation, having to go to Orlando to be quarantined for 6 or 7 weeks without your family, while the coronavirus cases continue to spike in multiple states across the country. Literal social unrest that is taking place in our country. Has anybody lost anything worse than the police have lost the pandemic? Jacoby, we were talking about this before George Floyd got tragically killed. Like, wait a minute. People are quarantining, but yet we're still seeing these videos of people getting killed. Remember we were talking about that on this show? And all sports aren't created equal as it relates to being social justice warriors and change agents. Okay? Basketball and football have always been at the forefront. Why? Because there happen to be people that look like us that have white fans and are really good at what they do. And because Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell are so very good at what they do, we are forced to listen to what they have to say. So now as you graduate to 2020, there's a belief that during a pandemic, under quarantine restrictions, that NBA players will be able to mobilize and still use their platform to maximize the civil unrest, the pain and the hurt that is happening throughout our country and our society. So the true way to do that and to be the loudest, Jacoby, is not to play. That's how you send the loudest message. We have been programmed because we work in sports and I've played sports and we're fans of the game. And more importantly, we underestimate the power that the athletes now have. They stand on the shoulders of giants. And there's a reason why when Colin was taking the knee with Eric Reed, it was only 13 or 14 other people doing it. But now it's going to be hundreds of people doing it. It ain't that the movement changed. It ain't that the circle. Eric Garner said, "I can't breathe," just like George Floyd did. So what was the difference? The difference is, and I welcome this. I am not disciplining this. I am not. I am happy that this support is being garnered. I love seeing black, white, everybody marching together in order for social and racial equality. But we're not asking for reparations. So to me, if you have the power like these players do, and unlike baseball, they may not play because of labor. Just think about that. They might not play because they can't get the money right. The NBA is different. Guess what? These guys now have a little leverage, Jacoby. They play 80% of the season. Those extra playoff checks, you want to play those 8 games to try to get your 25% back or a portion of it? Sure. But for those who are financially secure, and if you can afford to miss a check, it's something to be considered.
I understand. And one of the financial discussions I want to have with you is yes, 80% of the season has been paid out, right? And you can get some playoff checks if you go down to Orlando, but you know how the money works in the NBA. There's basketball-related revenue, and the salary cap of the following year is based on the basketball-related revenue from the previous year. And if there is no season, the basketball-related revenue goes down dramatically, which can be impactful moving forward on extensions and salary caps and everything else, especially if you're a free agent. So there are financial implications beyond just getting your playoff checks moving forward that will reverberate for years if there is not a season. Now, am I saying that's more important than social unrest? No, but I'm just trying to educate everybody on exactly what's at stake.
But I just want, you've heard me say, like for those that follow us for 10 years, we're brothers and we had these conversations often. And now that I think back at a lot of recall about when these sort of topics come up. So basically, I realize I've been consistent on something, and it's that there are multiple types of protests. And I supported Colin doing his at work because I knew that that's when the most eyeballs were going to be watching.
Mm-hmm.
This NBA season ain't going to be like the normal big stage, like the Super Bowl it normally is. Take it from somebody that's been to every NBA Finals since 2002. The media is not going to be there the same. It's going to be different. We will get to a champion. That's the goal. The goal in playing basketball is to get to a champion, right? Finish the regular season, try to salvage and get to a champion. But the loudest way for your voice to be heard, and I'm not advocating for this to happen, I'm just saying, just like I said with NFL players, if they wanted to get the deal that they hope to get guaranteed money. You remember what I said NFL players are eventually going to have to do to get their guaranteed contracts?
Strike.
Correct. And so if they want to be the loudest, in my opinion, it's not in Orlando at a hotel quarantine.
It's interesting. I think this is so complicated because there are so many variables. There's the health risk in Orlando. There's the social unrest. There's equality, exactly what equality means, what can get done over the next 3 months, that it is not cut and dry. And I think that we'll be discussing this all week, if not all summer. But there is the question of, you've got players like Kyrie Irving and Dwight Howard, former players like Steven Jackson, and they're all discussing sort of, we should not go. That's the strongest thing that we could do as a collective, is not go. But then there's also players that don't have the financial security that those people do. Younger players, they're looking for extensions and they need this money. And then there's also Austin Rivers, who's come out and said the money that we can make down there, we can put back into the BLM movement, and the attention that we get down there, we could put towards the BLM movement. So I think that this is something that right now Michelle Roberts and Adam Silver are going to discuss, because it feels like they have a goal of finishing the season, and it seems like they have a very complicated job to do on two fronts. One, the social injustice front, and also the health front. And it seems like they're not really there on either. But right now, I know that you mentor a lot of young people and also young NBA players. And if they call your phone and they said, Jalen, I don't know where to be on this, should I commit to going to Orlando? What would you say?
So I'm glad you acknowledged it. There are a lot of different ways and stages for your voice to be heard. And ultimately, all adults had to make this choice, whether their businesses or their careers got placed on hold and homeschooling for students. All of us at some point are going to make the decision, or have had to make the decision, as restrictions got loosened. Are we going to go back to work? In what capacity are we going back to work? Right? Everybody is having that conversation. And you know who's willing to take more risk than others? Those that live paycheck to paycheck or below.
Yep.
They're clearly going to take more risk because they need to do what it takes to feed their families. So I probably wouldn't know that about a person fiscally if I was on the phone with them talking about this topic, but I would bring that up. And then the other thing I'll bring up is, this ain't just a job. You actually love to play basketball. It's fun. I love basketball. It's fun. And since you've been quarantining for so many weeks and months, it'd feel great to get out there and just play the game I love. Dunk on somebody and scream and, be with my teammates and feel the camaraderie and the love and the spirit and, and continue to pursue my dream in the NBA. So if they were on the fence, I would definitely say play.
Well, one thing that we know is we feel this way in this moment, but I know, based on my years' experiences of covering this stuff, is every 24 hours there will be new information. There will be new voices on this, and there'll be new policies in place, both on the health front and the social injustice front. And we will always be here to give the people what they want and discuss it with you. We'll be on ESPN tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We appreciate you subscribing to the podcast, rating and reviewing the podcast. And Jalen Jacoby will always be here through everything, whether it be a pandemic, social unrest, or Nikola Jokic losing a bunch of weight. We'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, Jalen Rose?
We're not done. We're not done. We're not done.
Did you know Geico's now offering an extra 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies? That's 15% on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Your goldfish to sing Bizet's Carmen? There's never been a better time to switch to Geico. Save an extra 15% when you switch by October 7th. Limitations apply. Visit geico.com for details.
酒喝醉的甘愿，也会哭的情愿。谢谢你让我